with a training partner in a seated position, just like so. And we're going to have the inside position, our two knees inside our training partner's two knees. From here, we're going to take a 2-on-1 leg grip. We're going to practice the skill of scooting our buttocks hip to hip towards our opponent. It's very important that we don't put our hands on the floor when we perform this drill. If I take my hands off the 2-on-1, there's no reason why my opponent can't pommel his leg to the inside position, and now he can threaten me. Okay? So once I get the 2-on-1 position, I can't relinquish it. That means that my feet are going to have to draw me towards my opponent. Okay, so we're going to establish the 2-on-1, and my 2 feet will pull my body in just far enough that from here I can kick through and then establish inside position along with a movement inwards that gives me a nice tight Arimi Ashigarami. We've seen the idea of a straight buttock foot position. Now we take our elbow over our training partner's ankle and we lean forward with our ankle and knee well connected. As a result, there's a tremendous connection to our opponent's leg. And now we're going to test that connection with the drill. My training partner is going to walk backwards on his hands. With no hands, you can see that I can hold my position just fine. Now we're going to test it with a roll. Placido is going to roll in this direction with no hands. We see that we're still connected to our training partner. Now he's going to connect it in a linear fashion, and we see the connection is still very good. Now he's going to test it with a roll in the opposite direction, and we see that we're still connected. Now we want to minimize surface area on the mat. We do that by rounding our spine. As we make contact with our opponent, we don't get a superficial or weak grip. We go through and snake the wrists all around our training partner's calf muscle. Most of the action comes from my legs pulling me along the mat. The hands mostly just hold my opponent's legs in place. It's my legs that pull me in. Once I penetrate sufficiently, we're in a position now to throw our 2 legs and catch so that his knee is well caught within my knee line. From here, with no hands, I've formed a connection where just my legs hold me in good position, and we're able to establish a good sense of control. Let's look at the same drill from a different angle. We start off in front of our training partner. From here, I need to go up to the ankle line. I make the initial contact, and then from here, my legs pull me in. Now, I fire my legs up, and you can clearly see his knee is well within my knee line. Even against resistance now, I'll be so close to my opponent's hips with my hips that even if he should move a few inches away from me in the course of live rolling, I'll be sufficiently close to get the break that I'm looking for. Just like before, we're going to penetrate past our training partner's ankle line. Just like before, we're going to come up into an Arimi Ashigarami. But now we're going to practice the skill of releasing and coming up side to side. Every time we come up, just the hands come off and the legs lock on, so that we practice the skill of connecting and working against the force of gravity. Right now, the only thing holding me in place is my legs. Gravity is pulling me down, but my legs are maintaining my position. If there was any failure in the integrity of my Ashigarami, it would be revealed immediately by the force of gravity. If I don't have that rocking chair shaped spine, I'm going to come up short. Look how as I flatten my spine, I struggle to come up adequately. My legs get in the wrong position. But the moment I round my spine, I come up effortlessly into the move. You can tell that the movement is relatively effortless because my voice is not changing as I perform the movement. There's no real strain on my abdominal muscles because the curvature of my spine is what makes the effort so minimal. The moment my spine flattens out, I have to substitute abdominal muscle strength to throw my legs up. and you'll rapidly fatigue. Instead, use a rounded spine to come up effortlessly on your opponent. Work in large numbers of repetitions. You should be able to work for a considerable period of time. On the last one, with no hands, we just practice sitting our training partner down to the mat. When we on our opponent's legs, just like before, okay? We're going to start an action of pulling our body up so that we get used to the idea of that rounded rocking chair shaped spine, which is so important to the bottom leg lock game. Once you become comfortable with the idea of a rounded spine, we're going to start splitting our legs so that one foot goes in the middle and one foot goes on the outside. As you become familiar with this motion, we're going to go the extra distance, and we're going to start taking the inside foot and hooking our shoelaces onto our training partner's hamstring just below the buttocks. This constitutes what we call an anchor on our training partner. As I come up and I fix the anchor, that enables me to pull my body weight using a combination of two hands and the anchor foot around behind my opponent. I need to take my outside leg and use that as a wedge around behind my opponent's body. You can see now that I'm not using my hands. The only thing connecting me and holding me up against the force of gravity is the use of my legs. My legs are scissoring. One leg is a pushing leg, pushing into my opponent's thigh. The other leg is a pulling leg, pulling against the calf muscle, forming a perfect wedge around my opponent. Now I take my outside foot and I put it on my training partner's hip so I can square back up to my training partner. Once again, I come up, this time on the other side, I put my shoelace in, that becomes my anchor foot. My outside leg comes out and around, and again we get that same scissoring effect. One leg is pushing into our opponent, the other is pulling back towards our own chest. I put my foot in and we learn to square up. And this way we can go in side to side on our training partner and make a satisfactory connection with every single repetition. Once we feel familiar with this idea of holding our body comfortably here, now we add the idea of a breakdown. I take my knee and push it into my training partner's hip, and as always, I make sure that my head stays over my training partner's knee so that we have that strong sense of connection and don't lose it on the landing. Let's have a look at that same drill from another angle. Good. Now, we know that once we come in, we need to first create that gentle rocking chair effect, which is the hallmark and the basis of the entire drill. Once we're familiar with that, we get used to the idea of splitting my feet so that I have an inside foot and an outside foot. Then the inside foot becomes an anchor. I use that to pull my body around the corner and hook on. This leg here pushes into the thigh. This knee here pulls into the calf muscle. And as a result, with no hands, I resist the force of gravity and form a connection that keeps his knee well within my knee line. I use my feet to correct my body back to square. I come up, catch, and around the corner we go. My foot comes around, squares me up, and we just go side to side until when we put him down, we make sure our head stays directly over his knee to our training partner like so. From here, he's going to have his hands away from his hips, and then we're just going to practice going in wrist deep on our training partner's knee, just like so. Don't go in with your fingers, make sure you go in with the wrist. The first thing we want to make sure is that when we make the reach, we round out our spine in the manner we've been prescribing so far. Once our spine is rounded, we're in the perfect position now to go from a one grip into a double grip, just like so. From that double grip, I pull my legs up on that rounded spine, and just like before, I'm going to have an inside leg and an outside leg. Just like before, I'm going to hook my shoelaces onto my training partner's hamstring. Just like before, that anchor will enable me to pull my body around the corner and up into a position where I have scissored legs. One is pushing into the far thigh, one is pulling on the near calf muscle, and as a result we can exert an outward force and keep our head over our training partner's knee so we form a good connection to complete the move.